Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of my of the Phu Bui Podcast today. Today I have John DeVito from EXP Realty on my podcast today. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone,
Hello,
John?
hello. So my name's John DeVito. Uh, this is my second year within EXP, and I could say at the beginning of this journey, I just wasn't sure I made the right decision. And now, being 2 years in, I know for 100% fact that I chose the right brokerage in the right area.
Tell me a little about yourself, John. How did you get started in real estate?
So I was, I'd say I was like a typical American on the hamster wheel of working a regular
Yeah.
corporate job. And I worked for Ford as a diesel mechanic for 15 years. And, you know, I'm in my mid 30s, my body's starting to hurt. And I just figured I needed to do something else. And it was just by chance that I went to purchase a home. And I was fascinated by the whole transaction, the ins and outs, and the real estate agent. Not only my representation, but the representation from the seller side actually loved my personality and told me you'd be great at this. So I made the decision just to sign up for school. I figured in my head, I looked at the price, it was $500 to take the pre-licensing exams, and I figured, what's the worst that happens? Truthfully, I thought the worst that would happen was nobody would be able to get over on me in a real estate deal. Even if I didn't get licensed and I decided it wasn't for me, for $500, I gained a ton of knowledge on a subject. And I just kind of fell in love with it and just kind of rolled right through, you know.
Wow. Now, where did you took your classes?
So I did what most people do. I went right to Google and I just Googled real estate because I didn't have a clue on how to get my license or where to start. And I actually found it in person because I'm not good with online, right? Holding myself accountable to do 75 hours of training on my own at my house. Let's be real, there's a TV and a couch right over there. I'm not going to sit at my laptop for 75 hours. So I found an in-person class. It was right here in Duryea, Northeastern Pennsylvania Real Estate Academy. I reached out to the owner, whose name's Danny Lorenzini. He runs the school. He responded to me right away, and I was enrolled in classes and started 3 weeks later.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Um, so tell me a little bit about EXP Realty. What made you come to our brokerage at EXP Realty here?
So, as the advice of my mentor at the time, they promoted me to interview at every brokerage, right? So I went around to everybody, old Keller Williams, EXP, Lewis Freeman. I mean, I don't mean to put anybody on blast, but it came down to Keller Williams and EXP. And my primary focus was on training and support, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
entering this world that I know nothing. I know very little, enough to pass these state exams. That's what I knew about it. Um, so I attended a few of the meetings for Keller Williams and a few of them for EXP. And you just take a look at the models from a financing point of view, because they were similar in training from an outside viewer. They were similar in training, but the model at EXP with the revenue share rather than the profit share and the splits, it was just a no-brainer to go with EXP. And I'm proud to say, 2 years later, I now sit on the board, the Agent Advisory Council for the state of Pennsylvania, right? So I represent partially all of the agents and their best interests. I could say that I just attended the regional rally event down in King of Prussia in Philadelphia, and just the excitement, the culture, the energy level, the amount of support that you get from the brokers. I hate to be a butt kisser, but they're just amazing. All the brokers, they're just there. They're a click away, a phone call away. And I mean, I just think it's unmatched from all the other brokers and what they have to offer.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree more with you, John, because I do love some of the brokers at EXP. Because for instance, Mike Bauer. If I ever need something, I just message him real quick, and that guy will call me within 5 minutes. No, and 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 that's the one thing I love. And then I hate it when people give out false information as to like oh they don't even have an office, you can't reach their broker, there's no training, that's just
So here's
so misleading.
here's the weird thing, because I heard all of that stuff, and I wasn't huge into technology. I didn't really personally. I didn't like FaceTiming when FaceTiming came out. I thought it was weird. Just talk to me on the phone. Why do I have to look at your face, right? So, for this virtual brokerage where my brokers are hours away from where I am, I could say that I feel more part of a family and a team being part of the EXP culture than I ever did at a job where I work next to people for 10 hours. I mean, when I go down to these events, so I've met my brokers 3 times in person. So you got Jen Botchway, you got the new broker, Rob Myers, you got Mike Bowers, and we have drawing a blank. Terrible, because he's the one that always answers my calls. Anyway, so when I go down there and I see them in person, it's like I've known them, like I've worked next to them for 2 years. I mean, they just are always there. They're superhuman. I don't know how they have the time to answer everybody's calls, but like on a personal level, I truly feel like I'm part of a team and part of a family here, and I don't see myself going anywhere else.
Yeah, I know how you feel, because I met them a few times at the Christmas parties and stuff too, and you know what what a blast I had at those Christmas parties. And I feel like they actually care about you, they want you to succeed, and they're always there for you when you need them. So
Well,
that's
this is EXP's built their model around you succeed when you help an agent underneath you succeed. People have this false idea that it's this pyramid scheme. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's a culture that you gain by helping others, and it's the only brokerage that isn't this cutthroat competing environment where if you help somebody else, you're taking money out of your pocket. And it's just not like that. And I promote everybody to come to these events, because even if you came for the free food and you were, as one of the speakers said, a chicken eater, right? If you came there just for the food, you actually end up feeling like you belong, and you're there for a reason. And I've just been blown away from the whole experience.
yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you, because now that you mentioned that, I the one day I needed some help, and I reached this another agent across the country. He's been in the business for like 22 years. He has a team of 50 people. The guy's is producing like millions of dollars a year, and like super busy. And he just, I told him I needed some help, I needed some guidance. You know what? The guy booked an appointment with me, put me on the Zoom call with him, and gave me some great pointers, gave me some great tips, and I couldn't agree more.
And for nothing.
Yeah, for
right?
nothing.
For nothing. I mean,
he was just like, we're in the same brokerage. I'm here to help you. Whatever you need, just give me a call. I'll help you.
and let me ask you this. Isn't that infectious? Right? When you have somebody help you with no financial means or gaining anything, it just helps you to, like, then when a person reaches out to you, like, of course I help you, like, you pay it forward, and then all of a sudden you're immersed in this world of support and success.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was like, a multi-time icon agent here at EXP, and he's just, what a wonderful guy. He's like, I gotta be at my daughter's softball game in a little bit, but you know what? That could wait. So I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know any other. I mean, they've basically they have an app called Workplace, okay, and it's essentially a Facebook of just EXP, right? So we all have, for people in the business, you have your MLSs and they're all specific areas. So sometimes agents from a different MLS will get a listing from your MLS and it won't be posted in your MLS. So you don't have the means to pull the information up. Well, you just go in Workplace and you'll post. I've done this several times. Hey, can someone send me the info on this? And some random person who I don't even know goes out of their way to copy the link and download the information, a PDF, and email it to me. And it's in my email within 5 minutes. And I don't know this person. They had no reason to stop what they were doing. We're all busy people. I mean, I know it was only 3 minutes out of their day, but that's 3 minutes that they spent to help me. And I don't know any other brokerage where you get that kind of support.
No, it's a great family and it is a great culture. So John, I've been watching you since you started your career, and I
That's
see.
creepy.
So I see you're doing pretty well in real estate. So tell me how many transactions you've done so far.
I've done so. Let's be full disclosure. I still work a full-time job, and I coach high school baseball for Scranton Prep, which is also during the season a full-time job, right? So with all that being said, since I've started, I think in a year and a half, I've done a little over 20 transactions part-time, which is pretty amazing because I know agents that don't do 20 transactions full-time in a year in this area, right? So I thought that I wasn't doing that well, right? Because I'm always looking at top tier, right? We're
Right.
looking at like, I want to be an icon agent. Of course, we all want money. We all want to be the best. So compared to them, I fall short. But then at the end of the year, when I win Mentee of the Year, right, out of, I think it was 2,500 brand new agents that started, winning that award really just solidified and helped me remind myself that I did just start in this business. I do have other obligations, and that I'm succeeding and I'm on the right path. And I can't thank EXP and the brokers enough. I can't thank Phu. I can't thank Danny Lorenzini and the group at Launchpad, Mike Urban included, and all of these people, the lenders, Mike Pelosi from Mid-Atlantic Funding, Angelo Ambrosio, who I believe you had on our
Yeah. Yep.
earlier podcast.
Yep. That's right.
So the attorney, John Novak, title attorney, I mean, I've surrounded myself with such a great team that they have such a wealth of information that I wouldn't be as successful and on the right paths to success, to becoming an icon agent without all these people. And I'm just very grateful and I'm blessed.
Wow, John. Yeah, that is amazing. For being a part-time agent and just having your career take off like that. That's definitely that doesn't happen very often with a lot of people. And yeah, I'm really proud of you. And that's man, you're doing a great job.
Just thank you. You just
Yeah.
you just gotta want it. You gotta know
Yeah.
what you want, and you gotta not be afraid to fail because you're gonna fail,
Yeah,
right?
because I mean, like everybody's afraid to fail, but you gotta be all in sometimes.
So could I tell you a story of my first failure as real estate?
Yeah, of course. Tell
All
the
right.
viewer, tell everybody.
Sweet. So I've always been good in person, right? I've never gone to an interview, like an in-person interview, where I didn't get the job, right? I'm good at highlighting what I'm good at. So I'm new to EXP. I'm brand new. Haven't even had a deal yet. I'm on their referral network on Workplace, and a referral comes through that they're looking for a selling agent in this area, right? I'll keep it brief and not go into specifics. So I respond to them. Boom, I'm your guy. I'm super excited. Well, she calls me right away, right? And, I wasn't prepared for it, right? So she goes and tells me that it's a $1.4 million property, 30,000 square foot commercial building with 5 apartments on the back. Well, right? Not ready for that. And I completely fumbled the ball on the phone call, right? Um, by the time I got my mentor on the phone, the damage was done. And she knew that I wasn't the person that she wanted to send her client to, understandably. So I like to say that at that moment is when I first realized where my weak points were. And one of the weak points was I've never had to sell myself and my value over the phone. Right. So I call that my $30,000 mistake, because that's about a $30,000
Yeah,
commission
that's right. That's
on
right.
that property. And so I took that, and instead of sulking about it, I worked through some scripts and role playing and just continuing to make phone calls, right, to where I was then comfortable with it, and then I could talk on the phone. So that was my first failure. Some people might not consider it a failure, but I'm very hard on myself. I considered it a failure, and I learned from that, and I've never made that mistake again.
Wow, that's yeah, that was definitely a loss, John. That's a big loss. But hey, you know what? You live and you learn. Because I'll tell you what, I was there at one point too. I probably wasted about a decade of my life doing nothing at one point, and I was at rock bottom. I probably didn't have a dollar to my name. No support. I had nothing. So I was literally rock bottom, and I took a look in the mirror, and I told myself, I'm not gonna be this. I want to be successful. You know, I want to be financially stable. And then that's kind of pretty much how I got into real estate. And then I pulled myself out from that rock bottom, and then here we are today. I couldn't be more happy.
I mean, doing great. Icon agent, you're running a team successfully, you're running podcasts, you're shooting advertising videos. I mean, you are the man, the myth, the legend. You're who Danny spoke about in the class when I was attending classes 2 years ago, right? Your story is one of the big stories that motivated me to be like, hey, I could do this. This is doable. This is in front of me. If you want it, it's in front of me. Um, so it's amazing just to be part of your team and to be here, blessed enough to be sitting down on this couch talking on a podcast, talking about real estate.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, it's
No,
amazing.
I'm happy. You're on my team. I'm happy that you're here and we're doing this podcast. Just kind of like kicking back and just talking and try to get away from some of this craziness.
I hope that people that hear this, if there's some people that are on the fence, right, on whether or not, ooh, could I do this? Could I not? This is, I'm here to help, right? I'm here to
Yeah,
help push you over that edge to say it is doable. Now, it's not easy. Some people think that we're
it's
just,
not selling sunset.
yeah, like, it's more than just opening the door. I would say that's the
Yeah,
easiest part of the job by far. Navigating people's personalities, getting everybody on the same page, besides all the intricacies and problems that could go wrong between contracts. I mean, I remember calling you about a client I had where I was representing the buyer, and the sellers forgot a key piece of information on the contract, and then we're at the closing table and they're asking for another $16,000, and their clients were out that $16,000 because they didn't put it on the contract. And my buyers had a windfall of an extra 16,000 because of a simple mistake on a contract, right? So it's super important to have representation. We're more than just key turners,
yeah.
right? And I think that we're 100% necessary.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with you. People think that we're just we're on like $100,000 salary a year just for opening doors and doing nothing.
That
But
sounds amazing. Where's that job? You could sign me up for that.
yeah, wouldn't it be great if it was that? But some people don't realize we're representing our client. We're negotiating on their behalf. We're checking contracts to make sure everything is in place because otherwise at the end of the day, your clients could really get hurt if if everything is not taken care of.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot, and I'm so. Here's one of the greatest things about real estate is I just constantly feel like I'm winning, right? And I'll equate it to my previous jobs. So working at in the automotive industry, it's a thankless job. Nobody's happy, right? Nobody's happy when their car breaks down. Even if it's covered under warranty, nobody wants to get it towed and then be reimbursed. Nobody wants to be out the inconvenience. So it doesn't matter how good of a job anybody does, you hate it. In this business, at the end of the day, if it all goes well, everybody's happy. The seller sold the house, the buyers got in the house, the lenders put a loan out and got paid, the agents both got paid, the attorneys got, everybody got what they wanted. And I could say navigating it, right? So I love being on point with the appraisal, right? So I've taken appraisal classes on the side so that I follow the same, I don't have an appraiser's license, but I follow the same guidelines that the appraisers follow. So when I say to my client, you could sell this house for 160, that's what it's worth. And a buyer comes in and let's say that the seller doesn't agree with you and he wants to sell it for 180, and a buyer comes in and they get an appraisal done and the appraisal comes into within $500 of what I said. That is just a win for me, right? I just like that. And too many people just fly, especially a lot of agents, they just fly by the seat of their pants. They'll say, oh, you want to sell it for 180? We'll sell it for 180. And they don't do the research. And it's agents like that undercut our value and give us a bad name, right? So I just like this client I'm meeting this afternoon for inspections. He worked with 3 other agents over the last 3 months in different areas of Pennsylvania, trying to get a house, put some offers in. Offers didn't get accepted. Met with me one day. I informed him he wanted to make an offer. I informed him that, hey, listen, that's not the right approach. We need to go up $5,000 and let's put in an escalation clause. Well, what's that? He asked. Well, in a market that you're competing for properties, an escalation clause is almost necessary when there's a multiple offer situation. None of your other agents explain this to you. Nope. Right? So it's like there's a difference between the value. And what happened? We got the house because of the appraisal contingency. I mean, because of the escalation clause, for and under what the house was appraised for at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's just a win. My client couldn't be happier. The sellers couldn't be happier, which means I couldn't be happier.
So, John, what are some of the challenges that you go through as a real estate agent every day?
Challenges, I don't think you got a long enough time to listen to all of them. Because it's not easy. Some of the more frustrating challenges are just people, right?
Right.
So I can't tell you how many times people make an appointment and then you're standing there, on the porch at your appointment time, 4:00, and you checked with them at 3:50. They were on their way, and 4:00 you're standing there, and 4:05 goes by, and 4:10 goes by, and then they text you, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. And it's like, okay, well, you put a lot of people out of it. Would have been totally fine if you just said you couldn't make it. We could have rescheduled. But now I put the sellers out of the house. I drove 30 minutes to get here, right? So just sometimes dealing with people.
Courtesy, no courtesy at all.
Yeah, it's just for free. I did this for free. I'm not guaranteed a paycheck.
Right.
The other thing sometimes, and I think it comes down to just being prepared and informing people. People are afraid. I mean, this is a big purchase. This is the biggest purchase most people that you deal with are going to have to make. So they're afraid. They don't want to talk to a lender. The interest rates are too high. I think I've heard you actually say, marry the house, not the interest. Not the interest rate. What was the line that you said one time?
I think it was marry the house and date the rate.
Date the rate. There you go.
Right.
Date the rate, right? Because you could always refinance. But sometimes people are afraid. They don't really understand, right? They don't really know what goes into it. And The biggest frustration is doing the other agent's job.
Oh, I know how that feels.
Yeah.
Believe me.
I mean, I don't understand it. At the end of the day, in order to best service my client, I have to do their job. I can't
Right.
if I don't do their job and the deal falls apart, then my client potentially, one, they're out the house they want. Two, they're out the money for the appraisal and the inspections, right? And potentially out the deposit. There's no guarantees,
Right.
right? So it's just like agents that I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they're out of touch. Maybe they got stuff going on in their lives and everything, but just communicate.
Yeah, no teamwork whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a coach and a mentor in other businesses for 20 years, right? Um, and I consider, even though I represent my client to the best of my abilities and you're representing your client, at the end of the day, your client and my client want the same thing. They want this transaction to complete, right? So that means me and the other agent are teammates, right? So I had an agent one time. My clients were moving into this house and they wanted the washer and dryer to stay. And the other agent was like, they want to take there's a washer and dryer in the house my clients are moving to, but they want this. And they were afraid to sign an agreement of sale for the washer and dryer. And she was texting me. And so I called her and I said, listen, if we can't get this deal under contract because of a washer and dryer, we're not good agents and we're not representing our clients to the fullest of our. I mean, we're talking about a washer and dryer. We're talking about a $250,000 purchase, and we're talking about a washer and dryer, right? So it's
Yeah.
like those are some of the frustrations that you just deal with as an agent. You know?
Right. Like, come on now. It's a washer and dryer. I mean, like, worst case scenario, I'll go buy a washer and dryer and put it in there.
Some people also have this weird loyalty, right? They spoke to a lender on the phone once 6 months ago, and that's who they want to deal with. And I try to stress the importance, right? This world's all about who you know, right? I stress the importance of using a local lender, right? Because the local lenders, they know the appraisers, they know all the banks, right? They know all the laws in this area specifically. They know the flood zones. They know this stuff in and out. And they want to use a lender, right? Not to knock like Rocket Mortgage at all, right? Because I've done deals through Rocket Mortgage before. But some of these lenders, they're not responsive. They don't do what they're supposed to do. I mean, I had a deal, it was supposed to close on Friday. Monday, I get the green light from the lender. I talk to him. I'm not going to mention the company, but he was out of state. He was actually on the West Coast, so we're on different times, right? I can't get in touch with him until 2 p.m. because, it's so early over there. And he tells me, "Oh no, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay." Well, then Wednesday, 2 days before close, he tells me, "Oh well, the client just had to pay this debt off, and now we have to wait for this letter from the VA showing that the debt has been paid off." And I said, "This house has been under contract for 6 weeks. Why are they paying this debt off 2 days before closing? And now you're delaying the closing." And he tried to push it off on the client, right? On the buyer. I was representing the seller. So I called the buyer agent and kind of got the lowdown, like what's going on. And I actually spoke to the buyer themselves, and they told me, we disclosed this to the lender right at the beginning, and he said, don't worry about it. And now 2 days before closing, he said, you have to worry about it. So now we have to wait for the Treasury Department to certify it, say the debt's paid off, then send the VA a letter saying the debt's been paid, and that could take a month. And my sellers are going to have a heart attack, right? So by navigating it, what we did was we actually had a conference call between the VA and the underwriters at the lender show, and they verbally said the debt's been paid off. It's not going to reflect in the system yet until we get this letter, but the debt in fact was paid off, and luckily the underwriters accepted that, and we were able to close, or only delayed a week. Still delayed, but only a week. But I had to do other people's jobs. I had to do the lender's job.
Yeah, that it sounds like that could have been avoided, day one.
Day one. Hey, you need to pay this debt off. Boom, debt's paid off. And we're done. I mean, she had the money to pay the debt off. She didn't know she had to, right? And I believe her. I mean, I've heard stories of somebody getting a parking ticket, right? Getting a parking ticket, pleading not guilty to the parking ticket, right? So then what happened? I guess the state reported it as a undisclosed amount that's owed to the state because it's a pending debt,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't know. And that held up a closing for 2 weeks until the summons date where it got reprieved. So you never know what's going to come up.
From a parking ticket.
Parking ticket.
That's a little while.
A $300,000 house over a $20 parking ticket, right? So it's like you never know what's going to pop up. You just got to be ready, and you got to advise everybody. You got to be honest with both sides. You got to communicate.
Right. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more with you. Communication is definitely key in this business. And I feel like, a lot of people just don't communicate. Sometimes it could be the agents, it could be the, the lender, sometimes title. And nothing drives me more crazy than when someone does not answer my call or my emails, especially when they call me, I pick up the phone within like 2 seconds. Like, hey, what do you need?
Well, I have this system. I tell the other agents usually at the beginning of their deal, I say, I'll text you if it's not time sensitive. I'm only going to call you if it's important, right? Because I've been bothered by nuisance agents where they call you all the time for stuff that doesn't matter. You could have simply sent an email or a text. It's not time sensitive. It's like, and I answer the calls because I never know, right? When you get that phone call, you're like, oh boy, here we go. Like what, right? Like most of the time people only call when there's a problem.
Yeah, I know.
So like I have a system where, and I tell them up front, if I text you, it's not time sensitive. If I'm calling you, you need to pick up the phone or call me back. I understand not everyone's. I don't want you answering the phone when you're on the toilet, right? You could wait till you get out of the bathroom to call me back. But call me back, right? Don't make me call you again, right? So I would say that you started this by asking me what are some of the frustrations, and I'll say this loudly into the mic: the lack of control. We don't have control, right? We're not doing title ourselves. We're not writing the loan. Right? We're not doing the inspections. We're not doing the appraisal, right? There's a lot that's out of our control. And it's our job as an agent to keep this web of stuff that's happening together and stay in front of it to make sure that our clients get what they want at a fair price. So I would say lack of control.
Wow. Yeah, that's great, John. So, John, you told me that you're a part-time agent and you work another job, and then you're also a baseball coach, correct? Mm-hmm. So how do you manage your time?
What time? I live by my schedule, my calendar. I put it in the calendar, and I've learned to say no. Right? Sometimes, especially at the beginning of your career, you could tend to be an order taker. Right? You want to see this house? Okay. And you rearrange your life. But I don't know any other professional in any other industry that lets you dictate the appointment times. Right? So it's like and it's not to say I don't want to help you, but what I want to do is I want to set myself up to be able to best help you. When I'm here in front of you or talking to you as a client, I want you to have 100% of my attention span. I don't want to push something off to squeeze you in. And now when you're trying to have a conversation, that's a good conversation. I'm trying to inform you. I got to be somewhere in 10 minutes and I have to cut you short. right? I don't want that. So I'd rather push that appointment off till tomorrow where you have my full attention. And we could sit outside the house that I just showed you for an hour or go grab a cup of coffee or lunch and talk about it and answer your questions, right? So it's not about, um, not helping you. It's about I set a schedule so that I can help you better and more efficiently. But time management is,
It's key. It's definitely key,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I would say in any profession that you're doing, if you want to do it at a high level, you need to have a schedule and you need to stick by it.
So what are some tips you would give to a new agent, John?
Be prepared and be okay with failure. You're going to fail, right? You're going to lose deals. I mean, luckily for me, I've actually, in the 2 years I've been doing this, I've never had a deal fall apart. I've come real close to it. I've cut my commission back to get the deal to close. I even had another agent on the other side cut $10,000 off their commission to get the deal to closing. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's our job to make sure the deal doesn't fall apart, and I'll do everything that I could, in order to make sure that that happens.
No, I'm the same way, John, and I feel like, I'd rather get to the closing table than, stress over, what, a couple $100 or, whatever. I'll take the loss if I can get if we can close the deal and my client gets what they want, because at the end of the day, it will be a win-win for everybody. Even if I took a pay cut, it doesn't matter to me, which I have before on multiple occasions, where, it doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, I want that win. I want my clients to have that win, and, everybody's happy, and then we just walk away.
I mean, I've cut grass, I've painted walls, I've parged walls before, like to get a deal on because sometimes, I have a heart, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes this client is just a couple $100 away from getting this house, and the appraisal, the FHA appraisal says it needs a handrail, and they don't have any money extra to have somebody put a handrail in. And my commission on the deal is $4,000. Well, I'll put a handrail in for you. I'll pay a handyman to come in here and put some screws in a wall and put a handrail in, right? Because at the end of the day, I always tell my clients this is, I want your business for life, not for today. I want your business. I want to sell this house when you're ready to sell this house. When you have kids, I want to put your kids in their first house. I want your friends and family to come to me. And to me, it's worth it, right? It's worth putting a couple $100 in out of my commission to help them get into a house. I mean, and they couldn't be more grateful when they really see you go that extra mile that they know other agents wouldn't do it. I mean, it's just really solidifies the bond and the relationship that you have with them.
Right. And it's all about building relationships and, helping people at the end of the day, and, I love this job. I love this career. Every day is different, and, it's, you learn something new every day, and it keeps me going. So tell me, what are some of the most memorable transactions you ever dealt with?
All right. So had this client. I mean, I'll just say his name, Christian Fay. I'll point him to this so he could hear me tell this story. I don't think he'll mind, and I don't mind saying it. So about a week or two before closing, he asked me to meet up with him. I meet up with him, and he shows me this ring. He's got a ring. He's going to propose, right? And instantly my mind starts going like, okay, how can I? Because he was really nervous. He didn't know how he was going to do it. So I called the selling agent. I got her on board. And what I did was I purposely had them leave the lockbox and the key on the house, right? So I had a reason to go back to the house with them after closing. Because normally that's weird. Normally you hand the key off to the client, have a wonderful day, go enjoy your new house, right? So what we did was we entered the house the day before closing, and I bought like something like 2,000 rose petals, and we went upstairs in one of the bedrooms and we spread the rose petals all over the floor, and we closed the bedroom door. And I told Olivia, was her name. We told Olivia and Christian at closing. I said, well, I have to go with you to pick up the lockbox. And the seller also said they left some kind of gift for you in the bedroom. I don't know what it is. I said, but so after the closing here, let's just go back to the house, see what they left you. I got to grab the lockbox anyway. And so we go to the house and walk up the stairs. And I think I was more nervous than Christian because I know what's happening. And I'm videotaping this, like I'm behind the scenes, like she doesn't realize, but I'm videoing it for them. And we go up to, we walk up the stairs and we go in the bedroom, and she sees the rose petals, and she still had no idea what was going on. She was like, oh, rose petals, it's so beautiful. And then he drops down on his knee, and it was just a magical moment just to be able to be part of that. Not only put them in their first house together, but to be there and witness their engagement. And so not only are they starting this journey of this brand new house that they just bought, but they're starting their marriage at the same time. And I could say still to this day, I mean, I'm friends with Christian. I stay in touch with them. I'm excited for the wedding that's coming up, right? And it's just a beautiful thing. This business just allows you to really network and build relationships with people that you wouldn't have known, right? And then sometimes it's like the little things. Like my clients are coming out here from New York, and they're bringing me bagels today. And I couldn't be more excited to have a New York City bagel, which I haven't had in 6 years since I moved out to Pennsylvania. So it's like stuff like that makes the job memorable and makes all the hard work and the scammer phone calls and all of this frustrating stuff that people don't see worth it at the end of the day.
Wow, John. Yeah, that sounds like a great story. So now going off of that, what are your plans, within the next year or the next few years? What are your goals?
So I could say my overall goal would be able to play golf every day.
Yeah, I know you like your golf. I know.
I mean, there's just nothing better. Just being out there and in the quiet. I mean, you're playing a sport and you're out there in nature. That's why I love golf so much. But more realistically, would be more consistency, right? Being able to have a few transactions every month rather than, hitting it when the season's hot, right? In the summertime would be more consistent. And it would be to help people become agents, right? Because it's fulfilling. I mean, an EXP's model, the way the revenue share works and the downline, I mean, feel free to reach out to either me or Phu if you want more information about EXP, but they really allow you to have a sustainable lifestyle and sustainable passive income, right, from their business model. So my goal would be to help as many people become real estate agents as possible and help them be successful, because my success is dependent on their success. Right. So now you're not only getting fulfillment with passive income coming in, and that money, the way EXP has it set up, that money comes from EXP's money. It doesn't come from the agent's money. Right. So if someone signs underneath me and I help them become successful, they don't pay me anything. My money comes from the broker's money. Right. So it's a sustainable model that really could allow me to be more of a stay-at-home parent when that time comes, right? And so my goal is, from this year to last year, it's very specific. It's to double my output, okay? And make sure that I have a closing every month is my goal this year. And to play as much golf as I humanly possibly could.
Yeah, I know you love your golf. When we went to dinner the one day, yeah, you told me about that. So my goal is, I love how we don't have a really set schedule for this job, and I just want to be able to travel more, which I do now anyways. But I definitely want to be able to travel more than I do now, and I just want to, because just there's just so much to see in the world, and I want to get it all done, see everything in the world before I can't. So that's why I love this job. It just gives me more freedom.
And I mean, just traveling around kind of has given me perspective on how lucky we are. Just to see how other people live. I mean, even just from town to town, right?
Yeah.
Just to see different people and how they live and what's going on in other countries. It just makes me feel truly blessed to be able to be here and do this job and make the money that we make.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you, man. I mean, like, we're all so like how do I put this? We're all so blessed to be here in this country and have everything, like everything. Because let me tell you, because once you step outside the U.S., people make nothing. I mean, like, there's people that makes like what, $200 a month. That's their monthly salary, $200. And they still wake up every single day at 5 a.m. to go to work, and they're happy about it. And then we're here complaining about the little things here. Well, John, thank you for coming on today, and thank you for sitting down and having a good talk with me. I really do appreciate everything, and it was great talking to you, and I'm sure you have other things you have to do today. So,
thanks for having me. I had a great time just explaining who I was. I had some fun here today. It's great to get some exposure. I hope that some of the listeners out there, this helps them, direct themselves. If you got any questions about becoming an agent or, working with an agent, or even if you're just a client out there that doesn't understand the process and wants a little help, there'll be a link underneath this to a landing page where you could get in contact with me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I really hope you invite me back, Phu. I had a great time today, even though there's no donuts or no refreshments here. I mean, come on, what are you doing?
John, you know what? I'll be sure to get you a dozen of New York bagels next time. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, well, I guess we can wrap it up for today. And again, John, thank you. I know your time is valuable, and I couldn't be more happy that you came today, and you gave me an hour of your time, and we had a great talk, and thank you. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. And I appreciate EXP and everything they do for us.
Go EXP.